You know when you've got scared so many times in a short period where you just turn almost numb? Like your body can't process fear anymore, so you don't feel anything? This has been my last 24 hours. I wrote my post yesterday after sitting down after the game. I was shaken, so I look back and think I could have explained so much more. I was maybe 10 minutes before my shift ended when someone in the comments told me I did the return process wrong. As soon as I read that comment, I knew my suspicions were correct. I was in the wrong place. Everyone was staring at me. It's funny because I know I wasn't absolutely sure I was being stared at for that reason. I'd be looked at as a paranoid freak. Look, I'm writing this on my phone and I'm locked in my room. Wait, is this even my room? I've almost been hit by a car 3 times in the past 24 hours. I've had random people follow me and so many pairs of eyes glued to me in my every move. I biked home after getting off of work and I have never paddled faster. I take a scenic route that allows me to stay out of the way of main roads, and for once, I was glad. I biked past the park, and that's when I got my first real dose of how fucking horrifying this dimension really is. I saw a lady pushing a stroller, completely collapsed. I mean, she hit face first onto the concrete. Without thinking, I jumped off my bike and ran towards her. When I got there, I saw that there was no child in that stroller. I asked the lady if she could hear me, but as I bent down next to her, I saw she wasn't breathing. I immediately called 911 and explained the situation. Hi, I need an ambulance ASAP at... Some lady just fell face first onto the concrete and I don't think she's breathing. It's quite alright, sir. These things happen. I paused. No, she's dying or already dead. This is bad. Please send someone. I'm sadly afraid I have to deny your request. Garrett. This motherfucking lady knew me by my first name. I hung up and started looking around. No one had ran up. I looked to the playground as the child was sitting. Nay, perched on top of the monkey bars like a gargoyle. He opened his mouth like he was about to laugh. But he put out a gurgling scream like the lady from the elevator. I grabbed my bike and took the fuck off. I got out of the park and took a shorter way to my home, which involved crossing a seldom used road. I forgot all about avoiding roads during this time, and I just wanted to get home and away from the gargoyle boy. I saw a car coming down the road to the left, so I pumped my brakes to let it pass. The car sped up and turned towards me at the last second. I threw myself off the bike and saw the driver, an old lady, stare at me as she sped by. My bike is ruined. I carried in the last 2 blocks and ran into my house. This was the first of 3 times a car would try to murder me. Not gonna lie, when I got inside, I saw my dog. I cried. I sat down and called for him to come over. He did. Thank God he was just as friendly as my dimensionless dog. Then I heard a sound. It was music from my room being turned off. Then it hit me. I was about to face myself. My dimensional me. Seeing yourself is one of the strangest things I've ever fucking felt. We both stared at each other like for a minute, trying to comprehend what the fuck is happening. I started rapidly trying to explain, not to cause some type of catastrophe, but my alternative me just shook his head like he understood. I thought I was safe. I turned back around to my pet, or our dog, and I heard the same fucking voice from the elevator. The child's voice. Welcome home. I turned around to see my alt me standing on his toes, face looking at the ceiling and thumbs clawing into his eyes, and the voice laughed. I grabbed the coat rack near the door and swung it as hard as I could. The alternative me collapsed, and I stood there petrified. Long story short, on what I did. Alt me is in my basement tied up with the rope and tape covering his mouth. I'm not wanting to hear that voice ever again anytime soon. I grabbed a beer, and for the second time of the day, I bawled my fucking eyes out. I know I don't belong here. Tonight, I was going back to work and going to get back to my time. I took a moment to try to figure out what this world seems like mine, but completely different at the same time. Everyone in the comments is either kind or trying to scare me by saying welcome. I actually have a running theory. Not a great theory, but it's the best I've got. Possibly. The person you are in my time is opposite of yours. I mean, everyone has the same characteristics, interests, etc., but their morals and humanity, it's just gone. Those of you welcoming me are most likely the worst aspects and traits of yourself, while the others are the best. It's not the best. I told you, but it's what makes sense in my mind. Okay, so last night I decided to sneak to work without a vehicle or a bike. I had to walk or run. It's about a mile and a half journey. Not too bad. I made it near a park, and I decided that if I avoided the park, it would make me another half a mile to get there. After what I saw earlier, that was my fair choice to me. As I took the long way, I led me past a pond. It was quiet, and I reminded myself of what I did value in my dimension. I got to my work building. I had memorized the correct sequence this time, and I was going home, I thought. As I stepped onto the as I stepped onto the property, a car in the parking lot roared to life. I dropped down and prayed it didn't see me. The car did not move for a good half an hour. I stayed as still as possible until I couldn't stand it. I rolled around and got out of the view of the car. Then, as I took my first step off the grass, the car squealed around the corner and ran into me. I did not get out of the way fully. I threw me over, and I landed on my back, crying out in pain. I am so lucky I did not crack my head. I could tell I was bleeding from my elbows and knees. I dragged myself up using the wall of the building as support. I know I could have died then, but thank whatever deity you believe in, because it's a miracle. I got access into the building and then dragged myself inside. The lights were off. I slowly walked towards the elevator. I started getting the same feeling I got last time of being watched. I turned the corner, and through the light of the night sky shining through the window, my boss and two coworkers were peeking over their cubicles, staring directly at me. Not fully standing, just their heads slightly raised and staring. I panicked and ran towards the elevator. I pressed the button as many times as I could before I heard steps coming towards me. The elevator wouldn't listen or even power on at all. I pounded on the door, pretty much begging this hunk of metal to save me. I have never felt so fucking powerless in my life. I didn't do the thing that people do in horror movies where they waited too late until they were trapped by whatever was chasing them. I ran out and saw my boss and coworkers slowly walking down the halls towards me. Probably a good 20 yards. I carried myself and ran out the door. Alarms sounded. Security systems were alerting of an intruder. I don't think cops would save me here, so I left. I took alleyways, long routes, anything to put as much distance between myself and whatever the fuck was following me. Eventually, I sat in the alley and caught my breath. I heard cars driving by, people drunkenly yelling at each other, but nothing near me. 10 minutes later, I got up and headed back home. You remember that thing I said about three cars trying to hit me? Yeah, I'm not sure if this one was intentional as the others, but a car almost ran over my feet as I stepped out of the alleyway. I finally got home, and that's when I checked my phone. It was about 4 a.m. I was tired, but I was hurt really bad. I dragged myself into the bathtub and took off my clothes. I have a nasty cut on my knee that probably should be stitched up, but heavily bandaged is going to have to do. I'm pretty banged up right now, I'm not going to lie. Though about a hospital, mm, but not as thought about a hospital, but not as good of an idea as it probably seems. After a hot bath, cleaned off as much as possible, I went to bed, probably 5 a.m. ish. By the time I got to bed, my phone rang. It was Josh. Fuck that. Let it ring, and then spent another hour being paranoid that I was going to have someone break into my house. I checked on alternative me. He's still knocked out. I don't think I killed him, but I definitely am not getting close to him again. I drifted off to sleep about 3 hours, and then woke up and decided to read your comments and chat with a few of you that sent me chat requests. I'm sorry if I said no, because the third one really creeped me out. He said some personal details that made me think of the 911 operator, and I just can't handle that crap anymore. I spent the day resting and healing, reading about this place, somewhat enjoying finding differences. Wow. It's almost like that game we played as kids where you find the difference in the two pictures. I have a plan and an idea on when I want to try something again, but I'm not going to say that just yet. If you're reading this trying to find me, I made it details of my route to my house. All the scary shit. Yeah, that happened, but distances, landmarks, etc. All bullshit. So that was my day. How's yours been? Edit. If you've experienced this and gone to the wrong dimension, I need your advice on how to get out. I have a lead, and to make sure it correlates with others.